Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers play their fifth game of the season tonight, and we are already into LeBron James sends out cryptic Instagram stage of this season. It's not good. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. Always free, never behind a paywall. And we really do appreciate you making your first listen of every day this podcast because, it means you're starting your day off on kind of sad footing the way the Lakers have been going the last few days. Not everybody wants to do that. Make another Locked On podcast your second listen if you can. All right, game 5, Andy. LeBron James has already taken to Instagram in ways that have people chatting. That is going to be our first big story of the day. Do though want to give everybody the health update for tonight's game against the Timberwolves in Minnesota. Anthony Davis, I don't want to say he's upgrade or downgrade. He's being listed as questionable.
Well, it's a downgrade from previously having no designation, or he had been probable. So I guess it is a downgrade because he has been listed, I believe, on every injury report as probable
this season. Correct.
Right. So that's a downgrade.
So that's with the lower back injury. Russell Westbrook has been upgraded to also questionable for Friday's game. That is from doubtful, and then obviously did not play Wednesday in Denver. Look, I know people don't want to see Russ on the floor, but Lakers got to get people back on the floor. Like, they don't have enough talent, as we have seen over the last few games, to not have anybody available. Like, everybody's got to be available so they can throw darts at the wall and see maybe who might produce in any given night.
Yeah, particularly, too, if there's any chance that Anthony Davis doesn't play, they need Russell Westbrook out there just as somebody, if nothing else, who will, for good and for bad, aggressively look for some offense. Because right now, the only guys looking for their shot at all are LeBron, AD, Russ, Lonnie Walker, and Kendrick Nunn. And in the case of Lonnie Walker, he's getting some points, but it often is taking some shots along the way. And Kendrick Nunn is just flat out not producing at all. He is in a really, we discussed this on Thursday's show, a pretty pronounced slump. You wonder if he's having some confidence issues after that long, missed season last year.
Missed a year.
Yeah. And, with AD, you get into this really interesting conundrum that just lets you know exactly how things are going with this season. Because on one hand, you don't want AD attempting to play through a back issue, which, for what it's worth, both Darvin Ham and Anthony Davis said after the game they were fine, or that he was fine. But you don't want him potentially pushing this in a way that you turn a possible 1-game rest into a 1.5-month absence. The flip side is, though, you really do not want to fall to 0-5, and a big part of preventing 0-5 is Anthony Davis on the court.
What we have learned, Andy, is that when you get past the 2 stars on this team, it is very hard to know where the production is going to come from. I mean, like Lonnie Walker, and we'll get to LeBron here in a second. Lonnie Walker has been fine like this, but some of the production is just a matter of volume. On somebody is going to score, or somebody is,
and he's a volume scorer anyway,
right? And somebody's going to take 13 shots. Like there's got to be somebody who's going to absorb some of those field goal attempts. And so, I'm not trying to detract from what Walker is doing, but you cannot really rely and be like, well, Lonnie Walker can just step up and be that big third scorer. Like, that's not how this works. And he hasn't played, I don't think, at that level. All right. So we'll see what happens on Friday, who's available on Friday, what the record looks like after Friday.
Let me ask you something real quick.
Sure, go for
Just
it.
Hypothetical.
The show's half yours.
If AD doesn't play, but Russ does, do you think Russ starts or comes off the bench?
I think he starts. Probably. Because they don't have enough people. But I could see them putting him on the bench so that you can more easily stagger those LeBron. I mean, here's the thing: if you want to do it, just do it. And
Sure.
and as we discussed on Thursday's show, it is an interesting hypothetical because obviously not having AD does change the calculus a lot about who you need in the lineup. But the flip side is LeBron and Westbrook just haven't played well together. So I'm not sure what you gain from that. You might have more benefit from just playing Russ off the bench. I'll have to think about that. That was a good one.
It just popped into my head. Like, because on one hand, you might say that you want to get out to as punchy a start as possible. And Russ being in that starting lineup, particularly if you don't have AD there as well, might give it a little more power. Clunky a fit as LeBron and Russ have been. The flip side, though, is if you are planning to move Russ to the bench, you can actually get started on your eventual rotation easier and plug and play for AD. So, I mean, look, Darvin has not been handed a lot of easy questions so far to start this season.
I think the correct answer to this question is let's all hope Anthony Davis plays on Friday night. Let's talk about LeBron. We are 5 games. Tonight is the 5th game of the season. And we are already into cryptic Instagram posts season from LeBron. We have reached that stage of the campaign already. If you missed it at King James, it's a clip from the game on Wednesday night of LeBron being passed the ball.
It's a video on it. It's his video on his post.
Right.
It's
a clip of that. He goes up, soars through the air for a dunk, and underneath it says, "How long will you be taken for granted? Keep going, kid."
There's also a crown emoji because he is, of course,
he's the king.
He's the king. It's interesting, too, because LeBron both goes third person in this. How long will you being LeBron being the poster, be taken for granted? But also, too, keep going, kid. Presumably, the kid in question is the, the kid from Akron. Yeah. That we are always reminded that at the end of the day, LeBron is just a kid from Akron.
Andy. He's just a kid from Akron.
So it's both third person and meta. So in that sense, like LeBron really did some high level passive aggressive, or as I like to say, passive aggressive posting.
Yeah, that's funny.
like LeBron really, I don't know if he brought in like a team of Spring Hill writers or stuff like that, but kudos, LeBron. This was well done.
People have been reacting. Let me put this out for you because I don't want to be one of those hot take artists, Andy, who's just trying to stir up trouble and turn every bit of social media branding into something. Look, LeBron has bought a pickleball team. He just bought in Mitchell and Ness with a bunch of other people. The guy's got stuff going on. I can't say for sure what each little Instagram post means. And so let me put out this as a hypothetical, and you can contemplate it over the break and then tell me if you think this is the accurate way of putting it, where people could put their minds at ease and say, this is not a shot at Lakers management. That's what people are saying, Andy. It's a shot at Lakers management. How long are you going to take me, LeBron James, for granted? Here's my potential spin to say it's not. Haters, Andy. The world is always filled with haters. People who are doubting LeBron, who still doubt LeBron, who still are unwilling to acknowledge his level of accomplishment, the things he's done in this league, and are always trying to tear him down. Those are the haters. And LeBron isn't sending necessarily a shot at Rob Pelinka. He's just propping himself up, and he is saying, don't let the haters kind of get you down. How long are these people going to continue to take shots and not see what is in front of them? I want you to consider that while you read the following.
Yeah, let's all contemplate this, Brian, while we talk a little bit about Prize Picks. If you have not signed up yet for Prize Picks, Laker fans, you are missing out on daily fantasy made easy. Prize Picks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. They offer more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator. They offer all the superstar players as well as bench players, the guys at the back of the rotations, the JTAs of the world, the Damian Joneses of the world. You can take 2 to 5 players of any range of playing time and predict together whether they will go more or less than their Prize Picks projections. And Prize Picks offers projections for any sport that you watch. And they truly mean any: NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, your favorite, Brian, Euro basketball, and
that's where I love disc golf props. I've been out on an island, Andy, on disc golf props for years, and now I feel like I've finally got somebody, a prop-orator who speaks to me, who sees me.
Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. That easy, safe, fast withdrawal. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com, sign up, play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can get 100% on an instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. So if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. Don't forget to use the promo code Locked On at sign in for that instant match. If you're not playing PrizePicks, you don't know what you're missing.
So, Andy, you may remember I presented a scenario, a hypothesis that this Instagram post from LeBron James, "How long will you be taken for granted? Keep going, kid," is not necessarily a shot at Lakers management for a team that's 0-4, facing down a potential 0-5, 2-10. Like, it could get real ugly from here. It's not a shot at management. It is just a reminder to the haters. You're wrong. So any shot that I'm correct here?
Well, I suppose it is possible, given that LeBron is coming off the worst game of his season for the Lakers. He had 8 turnovers and lost to Denver. Frankly, it could have been more. He was not efficient from the field. By his own admission, he did not play well in this game. And he might be saying, "Oh, wow, you're writing me off after this one bad game." So he's like, "Oh my God, how can you possibly take the entirety of my career or even the first 3 games of this season for granted?" One other theoretical, by the way, it could be LeBron actually just complimenting Austin Reeves on the pass that set him up. And he knows that Austin Reeves is an undrafted free agent when the Lakers signed him.
So it's not even the clip isn't meant to be praise for LeBron and the dunk and the finish. It was actually trying just to highlight the feed.
Yeah, well, Austin Reeves, clearly that is a guy that has been, I don't even think, taken for granted. Nobody cared about him. Like you have to be of some profile before you can actually be taken for granted. But he's saying, like, how long are you going to keep sleeping on this goofy looking white boy? Keep going at it, kid. And Austin Reeves is actually a kid compared to LeBron. And I guess he's the king of the goofy looking white boys. So that's another theory. We can agree it's a shot at Rob Pelinka in the front.
Well, here's the question. It doesn't matter if it's not a shot at Rob Pelinka, because even if it's LeBron has done this before. He's been around a little while. He knows it will be interpreted as one, and at the very least seems fine with that. So where are we? Like, if LeBron is already taking shots at the roster, there are 4 games. It's not like, I'm not a big Rob Pelinka fan, but he's not stupid. He sees what is wrong with this team. He knows the problems that are here, and I think he understands they are in deep bleep right now. It is this. People are not overreacting to the problems of the Lakers. They really do look terrible, particularly on offense. What does that leave us? Because that doesn't change the reality on the ground, which is the Lakers have a very limited cachet of assets, and there isn't much out there to do. They can't just suddenly conjure a better deal than what's out there. Is LeBron saying, go get me Buddy Hield and Miles Turner? Is that what he's saying?
I mean, he certainly could be, because of all the deals that have been linked to the Lakers, that is the one that has been reported as most available. Like, if maybe not now, and this is where a layer of complications comes with all of this, where it's not just about what Rob Pelinka and Jeanie Buss and the Lakers are willing to do. Once the season begins, there was that,
which, by the way, is Friday.
Once the season actually is underway, and those off-season talks that had been going on very actively with the Lakers, they end. All these other teams may be just deciding, well, let's see where things go. The 20 to 25 games that Woj reported Rob Pelinka it would be assessing before deciding what he wants to do. That might be taking into account the 20 to 25 games that all these other front offices may be deciding exactly what may be out there for them when they want to pull the trigger as well. So as much as LeBron may be trying to apply that type of passive aggressive heat underneath Rob Pelinka's feet, Pelinka may not be able to do anything about it, even if he wants to, because the Lakers can't up their offer. Their offer is their offer.
And this is, we've made the point a lot. The Lakers, there is a case to be made for looking around, for seeing if Buddy Hield and Miles Turner is the baseline, and you can't do better than that, like making the choice, is that good enough for this year? Does that lock you into a place going forward? Because if you're going to trade for Miles Turner, you need to sign Miles Turner. You need to do it with the idea that you were going to keep him, because otherwise you've really mangled this whole thing. And just saying, oh, well, we can enter into a sign and trade. You need to do it with the assumption that this is somebody that we want to keep. If it doesn't come to that, if something changes, you can make a better deal. You can flip him in something, whatever. But it's like if you trade for, who were we talking about the other day? That is not Rozier, but who's also a free agent after this season. In some of these rumors that we were talking about,
Doug McDermott, Jakob Poeltl.
It was Poeltl. It was anybody who you make a trade for, who you are.
Josh Richardson, sorry.
Where you're going to give up Westbrook and the 2 picks or whatever. Josh Richardson probably doesn't cost you as much, but Jakob Poeltl absolutely would cost those picks. He is a very good player. If you're going to make them taste back Westbrook as part of it. Any one of these trades that you get a guy who's going to be a free agent at the end of this year, who is the centerpiece of that trade, you have to do it with the assumption and the willingness and the expectation that you are going to sign that person, and that is your big acquisition. That is your free agent space and whatever it is. You have to do it that way. The part that is implicit, though, is what you were saying. If the Lakers are looking for an offer, the Lakers are seeing what's available. Everyone else is too. And the Spurs are in no hurry they don't have to trade Jakob Poeltl tomorrow. The Hornets don't have to trade Hayward or Terry Rozier or whatever tomorrow. And the way that the NBA now has flattened those cap odds, there's benefit to being bad, but it's not nearly what it was before, where you can get out ahead of this sort of thing and get yourself 20% chance at Wembanyama, as opposed to
especially too, because a few of the expected tanking teams, like the Jazz, like the Spurs, the Hornets or whatever, they've actually been doing better. Other than the Magic, and there's really nobody who is at the cellar who has been wanting to be in the cellar. The Kings have been terrible. They're looking to make at minimum the play-in. They're trying. They're for Wembanyama team. So in that sense, that's eased a little bit of the every single loss counts pressure in these sweepstakes. Some of the expected loss teams, have not gone by the script yet.
So, all right, what do they? Where do they go? Because this, how does this start change the timeline though on does it change the timeline on where they what they need to do? Does it put more pressure on them to do something? Like, look, Rob Pelinka's got plenty of job security now.
He's
You
got 4 years to
ideally
figure this thing out.
you ideally do want somebody though who isn't going to do something stupid and freak out and panic. But do you have it does the start and the so obvious problems that they have change the math for the Lakers, or is there a reason to believe that it will get better a little bit naturally, and you can go from that? Like, how much panic do they need that's next? I still don't think you can't panic. You can't do something that is ultimately not smart because of what this is. And I think if you can make smaller moves, if you could do, Josh, like guys like that are helpful, but they're not going to move the needle, in significant ways on this season. Like, you ultimately have to believe that Lonnie Walker is going to continue to grow into a role and do it better, frankly, than he's been doing it so far, which has been okay, but not elevating them. You have to believe that Kendrick Nunn is going to get better. You have to believe that Patrick Beverley is going to contribute a little bit more than he has been, offensively, and all these things. Like, there's some of these more minor deals out there. That's not going to make up the gap between where the Lakers are offensively and where they need to go. The flip side is, if you can be even just regular bad, the Lakers are 4 points per 100 possessions worse than the next worst team in the NBA offensively. I mean, that's a huge gap. Is there reason enough, Andy, to believe that some of those things can happen that would make a trade worth it with this group?
Yeah, I mean, you can count on them eventually shooting better from outside than they have been now. Like, as much as you and I were bearish at best heading into the season in terms of the outside shooting and who they brought in to try to shore up the ineptitude from last season, they're not going to be this bad. Like, professional basketball players who have established 3-point range of any kind, they're going to be better than what they've been right now. And honestly, I think really if they have one game where they shoot 35% as a team, that is in a lot of way, I think, just going to create like a wave of relief. Like, you can see these guys are so tight because they've reached this place where they don't just expect to miss threes. They expect to have a sea of just disastrous missed threes. Like, they are passing up open threes. Their body language when they take them is bad. As I noted in the loss to Denver, they were turning the ball over or nearly turning the ball over because they were trying to force feed it into a packed paint, because it was either that or take an open outside shot. And clearly they decided, we'll take our chances on some turnovers, and just trying to get what has been a better shot for us so far.
And it compounds on itself because the mental impact of continuing to miss them just sucks the oxygen out of like as you put it on Thursday's show. Offense is the carrot, defense is the stick. They've been doing all stick. Like, you can't play that way forever. They'll go into Friday's game. They're shooting 22.3% from 3-point range. Even this early in the season, the 28th ranked team is Orlando at 30%. Like, think how much different the Lakers would be if they were shooting 30%. It would look completely different.
If they manage to just get it to that level, things change. And I think the temperature of this team, the personality of this team changes a lot. Like, they need tangible evidence of winning a game, but there's a ceiling though to how good I think they truly can be as is. I mean, we talked about that heading into this year, and there's nothing we've seen so far that would change that. I mean, they're a totally imbalanced roster. They are exceptionally top heavy. Some of the guys like Juan Toscano Anderson and Troy Brown, in terms of the minimum contract guys, I think actually been playing fine. I think they have been holding up their end of the bargain. Austin Reeves, I think for the stands out there, hasn't taken the leap that some of them expected. But I think if you evaluate Austin Reeves through the lens of undrafted free agent that in certain respects is found money, he's fine. Austin Reeves is not supposed to be saving your season.
Isn't this really the issue here? Is that the Lakers are like, I think it was Ziller this morning in his newsletter, another one of these that I subscribe to. Like he made the point, like go back and I'll do it right now. Go back and look at the game on Wednesday, and think about it in terms of if you were drafting players on this team, from these teams in your game, who would you draft in what order? So obviously, Jokic goes first. Okay. After that, you might go LeBron and Anthony Davis would be the next two people off the board. But his question was, after LeBron and AD, how many players get drafted on Denver before you take another Laker?
Like 4 or 5.
At least Aaron Gordon absolutely gets drafted. He didn't play, but Porter, Michael Porter Jr. gets drafted. Jamal Murray gets drafted. I would take KCP before anybody else in the Lakers. I would probably take Bruce Brown before anybody else in the Lakers.
Maybe
Certainly, he
5
played
or 6, something like that. Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately why there are the limitations there. And it's also why the Lakers may be thinking, and I know this is uninspiring for fans to hear. It's uninspiring for people who cover the team to hear. And it certainly is going to be uninspiring to LeBron if we have correctly interpreted his Instagram post. And I'm really confident that we have. They may ultimately decide this season's team has a capped ceiling in terms of whatever we can do to improve it. It can only get so much better. We think our odds of striking success while negotiating from a place of disadvantage is better this coming off season when Russ is off the books. We still keep those 2 first round picks. We have $30-ish million in cap space to either bring in a couple maybe solid role player free agents, try to rebuild that model of 2020, or absorb somebody in a trade with that space, whatever. It's an imperfect way of doing this. But as we've talked about, this is that scene in Argo. Is this the best bad idea you have? The Lakers are dealing from a place of extreme disadvantage, and they can only make one move. So you have to decide in a lot of ways which season you're prioritizing, because and you have to if it's this season, you have to really be thinking about how well can we do it, because if you do it wrong this season, most likely it means you're not just crapping this year, you're crapping next year as well. Like you're going to end up punting 2 seasons with LeBron as opposed to 1. And this is the position that they've put themselves in.
It drives. Yes. And it doesn't, and people are, oh, you guys are, no, it does. It only emphasizes how bad the deal was to begin with. But, and we'll finish here. Kind of takes you back full circle to the issue of Anthony Davis and the conundrum you are in. If he is banged up and already so, and you're going to questionable. We saw what he looked like in the second half in Denver on Wednesday. You're so dependent on those 2 guys to be perfect every night. And it's just, it really is amazing how the Lakers put themselves into this position to where they where the talent that is available to them because of the move that they made is what it is. You are hoping Juan Toscano-Anderson can be more like all of you. You're putting people in a place where the expectations for what they could become are bigger than anything they've ever been. And that is a really tough way to compete. But we'll see what happens on Friday. And we'll see what happens on Sunday. Correct? That's the rematch against Denver. Lakers are looking at a real challenge because after the, it's it doesn't get easier because New Orleans is playing well and Utah is playing well and Cleveland is a playoff team and the Clippers, and there's not a lot of relief in sight. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see everybody next week.